We're going to explore why 2 weeks ago Ryan Reynolds filed a motion to dismiss, asking the judge to remove him from the Baldoni Blake Lively lawsuit. Said judge, I want out.
About 2 weeks ago, Ryan Reynolds and his attorney filed a motion to dismiss, asking the judge to remove him from the lawsuit, a counterclaim that Justin Baldoni filed against Ryan's wife, Blake Lively. It made me pause and think, wait a second, they're married. What's the advantage of Ryan getting out of this? So why does Ryan want to remove himself personally from the lawsuit when, legally, half of everything he owns belongs to Blake anyway? If you're not already familiar with how marital law works, let me break it down for you. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively got married in 2012, so they've been together for about 13 years and have 4 children. Under marital law, any assets Ryan accumulated during the marriage are considered joint assets, meaning 50% belong to Blake. Anything he earned before Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively tied the knot back in 2012. Since then, they've built a life and a fortune together. Now here's how it works under marital law. Anything Ryan earned before they got married is solely his. Likewise, anything Blake earned before their marriage is hers alone. But once they said, I do, everything they've earned together from that point onward is considered marital property, meaning it legally belongs to both of them, split right down the middle, 50-50ths. And this is consistent no matter which US state you're in. Now, here's something that might surprise you. It certainly caused a bit of a stir online. I once posted something suggesting that Ryan Reynolds might actually be a billionaire, and someone replied, he's not even close. So let's clear the air and look at the numbers. Let's begin with Ryan's investments outside of acting, because believe it or not, that's where a huge portion of his wealth comes from. In 2020, Ryan sold his stake in Aviation American Gin. The company itself sold for $610 million, and Ryan reportedly owned about 25% of it. That means he likely walked away with approximately $152 million from that single deal. Then there's Mint Mobile, another smart move. Ryan bought into that company as well, and just last year, it was acquired by T-Mobile for a staggering $1.35 billion. Yes, that's with a B. If Ryan owned around 25% of Mint Mobile too, his share would be worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $330 million. And we haven't even gotten to his actual acting career, which is still thriving. From Deadpool 2, Ryan reportedly earned $22 million. For Deadpool 3, now being marketed as Deadpool and Wolverine, he landed a deal that paid him $20 million upfront and another $20 million on the back end, bringing his total earnings for that film to a cool $50 million. So let's do a quick tally. $152 million from Aviation Gin, $330 million from Mint Mobile, at least $50 million from just one Deadpool movie, and that's not including all his other acting work, brand endorsements, or business ventures. Conservatively, experts estimate that Ryan Reynolds is worth somewhere between $600 million and $650 million, possibly more, depending on undisclosed deals and royalties. So while he might not have crossed the billion-dollar mark yet, he's definitely in the upper stratosphere of celebrity wealth. Now let's talk about Blake Lively. She's incredibly well known in her own right. She made her mark with Gossip Girl, and she's starred in a number of films over the years. But she hasn't had the same level of financial activity or high-value business ventures as Ryan. There's nothing wrong with that, of course, but purely in terms of net worth, she's operating on a different scale. Reports peg Blake's net worth at around $50 million. So when you compare that to Ryan's estimated $650 million, the difference is significant. But here's the kicker. Under marital law, everything earned during their marriage is considered joint property. That means, legally, Blake is entitled to 50% of Ryan's earnings since 2012 and he to hers. So why then would Ryan want to distance himself from a lawsuit that his wife is involved in if their finances are technically tied together? That's when I decided to dig a little deeper and speak to some civil law experts. And even I was surprised by what I found out. And I say that as someone who served as a judge. Admittedly, my background is more rooted in criminal law, so civil litigation rules still manage to surprise me now and then. What I discovered is this: despite marital assets being shared, civil lawsuits treat spouses as separate legal entities. So if a judgment is only entered against Blake and Ryan is not a named party in the lawsuit, then the judgment can't be enforced against Ryan's share of the marital property. That means if Ryan successfully gets himself dismissed from the case, his wealth stays protected, even though it's technically part of their shared estate. It's a clever move and a legal strategy more people should understand. Ryan's not just trying to avoid courtroom drama, he's trying to shield hundreds of millions of dollars. And honestly, that's a smart play. I'm still learning about civil law every day, and let me tell you, it's full of surprises. Initially, I assumed something that a lot of people believe, that because assets in a marriage are jointly owned, any judgment against one spouse, whether it's Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, or both, would allow a plaintiff, in this case Justin Baldoni, to pursue any marital assets to satisfy that judgment. But here's the twist, and it's a big one. In civil litigation, marital assets are actually protected, but only under a very specific condition: if one spouse is not a party to the lawsuit. Let me explain how this works in simple terms. If Ryan Reynolds successfully gets himself dismissed from the lawsuit, meaning he is no longer legally involved in the case, and Blake Lively remains the only defendant, then any judgment entered will be against her alone, not him. And that matters a lot, because once that happens, Justin Baldoni can only go after Blake's separate property. In other words, assets that are in her name alone. He would have no legal right to go after any wealth that's solely in Ryan's name or shared marital assets, even if those were earned during the marriage. That's because civil law, unlike criminal law, draws clear lines between legal entities, and in cases like this, the law sees Blake, Ryan, and their marital estate as three distinct entities. Unless you're named in a lawsuit and found liable in the judgment, your assets are off limits. So if Ryan is not a party to the case, and the court eventually rules only against Blake, then Baldoni can't touch Ryan's money. Period. Now let's bring this into real numbers. Let's say the court sides with Justin Baldoni and awards him the full amount he's seeking, $400 million. If Ryan has been successfully dismissed from the case by then, he is legally untouchable. That entire judgment would be against Blake Lively alone. So what does that mean financially? Well, earlier we estimated that Ryan Reynolds is likely worth somewhere between $650 million, thanks to smart investments like Aviation Gin, Mint Mobile, and of course, his acting income. Some say he may even be approaching the billion-dollar mark. Blake Lively, on the other hand, has a reported net worth of around $50 million. Still substantial, but nowhere near what Baldoni is allegedly trying to recover. And here's the important part. If Ryan is no longer a defendant, Justin Baldoni cannot go after any of Ryan's fortune, not his individual earnings, not his investments, and not even the 50% of marital assets that legally belong to Blake. This is what we call a CYA move. Cover your assets. It's a smart legal strategy. And Ryan isn't just protecting himself. He's also, in a way, protecting Blake. Because if only her name is on the judgment, the total amount that can be collected is limited to what she owns individually, and not 1 cent more. So let's be clear, this isn't some emotional decision or an attempt to distance himself from Blake. This is a strategic, well-informed business decision. Ryan Reynolds is playing chess, not checkers. By filing a motion to dismiss himself from the lawsuit, he's showing once again that he's not just a talented actor, he's a savvy businessman who knows how to protect his assets. If the court grants that motion, Justin Baldoni will be restricted to going after only what Blake Lively owns in her own name, which again is reportedly about $50 million. That's a far cry from the $400 million Baldoni believes he's owed. And that, my friends, is the real reason Ryan Reynolds is fighting to get out of this lawsuit. There you have it. If you think I missed something, drop a comment down below. Let me know if you liked the video, if you didn't, or if there's a legal topic you want me to tackle next. I read as many comments as I can, and I love hearing your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown as much as I enjoyed putting it together. See you next time on SS News, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends.